right, guys. Excited to have Orion Ohev here to talk about the path of the Phoenix, rise powerfully from the ashes of the unknown. So, Orion and his team create space for high performers to remember their multi-dimensional nature and create spiritually aligned, multi-dimensional foundation from which they can build their dream life with ease, flow, and passion. So, really excited to have him here today. He's going to be talking about burning down what isn't serving you and rising boldly in the fire of your soul purpose. And it's really incredible. I'm really excited to have him. I've known Orion for a few years now, and seen him do some really incredible work. And more recently, moved within the last few years, moving into his own passions. And it's just been really incredible to see how you've grown and blossomed from all that. And I'm really excited to hear what you are sharing today and helping everybody take the path of the Phoenix.
Thanks so much, Tim. So good to be here. I really appreciate all you've done to get this together and this platform to share this my deepest passion. So really grateful, excited.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you take it from here. And thank you so much for being a part of the summit.
Sure thing.
All
Thank
right.
you. All right. So thank you again, Tim and team, for creating this opportunity. And I am here today to talk about the path of the Phoenix and how to rise powerfully from the ashes of the unknown. And I'm going to dive right in because we have a lot to chat about. So before we can really talk about the path of the Phoenix, I wanted to touch on and just kind of ground us all in to the path we've been on so far as a collective for the last several decades. And up until this year, if we are just step out for a little bit and think about the trajectory we've been on as a collective society, it's been one of packing in as much as we can into the time we have. And it's led to a lot of technical innovations through smartphones and travel and how connected we are with the internet and all of this. And it's been really beneficial. And it seems to have hit its breaking point. It seems to have hit the ceiling where we can no longer fit all of this in to the moments without like harming ourselves, harming the planet, harming each other, and trying to fit in family, trying to fit in social life and work and commute and errands and all of this, pack it in, pack it in, pack it in, ascend, expand, and all of that. And what this has led to is I love this quote. I think this quote says it better than I could, by Shane Koizanis from one of his spoken word poetries. And he says that the human race runs towards a finish line emblazoned with the words too far and wonders, will we ever cross it? Have we already? We are faced with a seemingly impossible task, and it's okay to be afraid. And this is such a key point. It's okay to be afraid. So this path we've been on has been one where in my observation, what I've been thinking and pondering is one that's largely to avoid fear, to avoid being in the unknown. It's this grasping onto a known way, a way that we can predict and feel stable and secure in. And the only difference really between fear and hope is the story you're telling yourself about the unknown. And being a part of the Global Hope Summit, I really wanted to touch on this because the unknown allows for a new story. So if you're telling a scary story about being in the unknown, you're going to feel fear. If you're telling yourself a hopeful, exciting story of possibility, you will feel hope. And this year, we've all been suddenly plunged into this giant unknown. And it's a collective unknown, way more than any individual unknown in your life or my life or someone else's life. And we've gone from this busyness packed life as a society to a more spacious one. And unfortunately, this time of quarantine has led to some businesses failing and jobs being lost and relationships ending and people having health issues and these huge voids being created in our lives that were once filled with all of that activity and all of that perceived stability and perceived safety. And why I say perceived is because I think if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that what we thought was safe, what we thought was stable, all the mechanisms we put into place, all the things we thought were going to happen can shift in an instant. So the perceived stability versus real stability, and I would even venture to say, and kind of the real underlying theme of this presentation is that true stability is actually in the unknown. Perceived stability happens when we try to force our knowing onto reality. So that's what I really want to talk about here is the true stability. And while the quarantine has led to a lot of challenges that I don't want to diminish at all for people, and especially I understand that survival comes first, taking care of one's family, taking care of one's ability to put a roof over their head, and especially with all the loss that's been happening. And what I invite anyone who's listening, wherever you are, however you've been affected by the happenings of this year, is to you know take care of your needs and see and just question, think, let yourself be in the possibility of what approaching life from this perspective, how it could support you in meeting those needs, in having your survival taken care of, and thriving on top of that, on top of that strong foundation. So this quarantine has led us all collectively to slow down, to face ourselves in new ways. And we're in uncharted territory as a collective. And our mind is completely out of its element. What do I mean by that? Well, the mind needs to use the past in order to figure out what to do in the present. Either the past or it relies on information coming from external sources, from governments, from media, from schools, from courses, from friends, to like take all this information in addition to the past experience and to try to discern what is the right mode to go forward. But this has never happened before. We've never collectively, in at least most people that are alive today, have never experienced anything like this. So there is no past to draw on. The media and the governments are like they're figuring it out as they go along, and this is really about returning to a deeper truth. The Because the worst thing I believe that you could do right now is to try to figure out what the correct direction is going forward for yourself, for your mission, for the planet, because your mind was never meant to guide you through the world in the first place. You are designed to operate in the unknown and to allow a new story to emerge. And you need only remember how. And we're going to be talking about this a few points throughout the presentation here, that the stability I'm talking about is actually comes from being more comfortable in the unknown and allowing your true compass to guide you, not your mind. So this compass is one you already have, which is really good news. So let's look at the mind and look at what this compass is within you as well. So the mind has 100 billion neurons. I get a little geeky, if you couldn't tell by my glasses and my general demeanor. And but I'm a huge geek. I love to study. So I'm going to go into a little bit of science here. Because I have a very scientific, skeptical mind, and I'm going to be going into some multidimensional stuff here, some spiritual stuff. So I science is actually what brought me back to spirit after leaving that kind of world for quite a little bit. And the mind has 100 billion neurons. It is designed for complex problem solving. It is not designed for decisions or determining your direction. So all of those billions of neurons are there to like really problem solve and figure out how to solve things along the path. It's basically a really complex hammer. And just a visual to keep in your mind. Like your mind, as complex as it is still just a tool to bash things down from your path, to bash down obstacles, or to build and construct things that will help you along your path. It's not a compass. You don't want to hold your hammer up to the air to like figure out which way to go. So the compass you have built into your system is your heart and your gut. So your gut actually has 500 million neurons, while your heart has 40,000, about. Those are estimates. So there's these advanced neural networks that we do have in other parts of our body that don't think like the brain does. They don't philosophize and contemplate in that way, but they communicate with the brain. They get information, and they are designed to make decisions. So this gut instinct that you hear about, your intuition, following your heart, these are not just woo-woo terms, these are real. And it's this that is designed to be our compass. So the path of the phoenix is about remembering and reconnecting to the fire of your soul's truth that is translated and comes through as body sensations and intuition. And how do we do this? Well, in order to really lay the foundation and create a model that you're like, I also like to talk to the mind because I know the mind is skeptical and like, what is intuition and how do I do that? So it's always helped me to give my mind a bone to chew on. So we're going to do that really quickly. And you are not your body. That's the theme of this next piece. You are not your body. You are not your thoughts. You are not your beliefs. So if you're not any of that, if you're not what you think and what you believe, then who are you? And to do that, I want to look at a little bit of science. And I want to look at going back to the 1800s with two scientists named James Maxwell and Michael Faraday. In the early 1800s, there started to be phenomena they were witnessing that were being discovered that could no longer be described by Newtonian physics. And the field theory was born. And a field was defined as a condition in space which has the potential of producing a force. A condition in space which has the potential of producing a force. Um, and what was determined is that each of us, each human, and each being and object on the planet, animate and inanimate, were discovered to have fields. And these fields create forces that interact with each other. So this went on to explain and start to bring science and words to that feeling when you're in the room with someone and you suddenly notice they're looking at you and you turn and make eye contact, or you just notice someone enters the room, or you can kind of feel the negative energy if they're like judging you, or you can feel the sadness if they're feeling sadness. All these experiences that are non-verbal, non-physical, that are happening in the subtle communication between us. So field theory was led, fast forwarding from field theory to the early 1900s and relativity and Einstein. He published his special theory of relativity, further shattering the Newtonian worldview. So not only are we now having these fields that are creating forces from us, Einstein found that space is not three-dimensional because time cannot be separated from space. There's only this fourth dimensional space-time continuum. And he also discovered a couple other amazing things. That time is nonlinear. He did this both theoretically and experimentally, playing with experiments, witnessing people that are moving at different speeds and different velocities, observing the same events happening for each person in a different order. And he also did it theoretically through equations. And he also explored this idea and discovered that matter, your body, including your body, all matter, is simply energy slowed down, but not stopped. And quantum physics has picked this up. And as physicists have been able to look deeper into matter, on the subatomic level, they found that matter only shows tendencies to exist. Meaning that at the smallest part of you, at the very foundation of your nature, the particles that make you up appear, vanish, and transform all the time and very unpredictably. So you are this unknown creature that's like appearing and vanishing at the smallest levels, shifting and changing all the time. You are vibrational and ever shifting. So you foundationally are not this stable being. You're an ever moving, changing being. And you are energy. And the world of solid objects that it appears we live in is way more malleable than we think. It's a world of energy patterns, a subtle magical world of that has been measured, that has been seen, that has been some of it even captured with medical equipment, of these energy patterns and interconnections. It's a universal web of energy that connects us all. You are the observer. You are observing it through your vehicle. So as you observe the world, there's also been the wave and particle experiments that have allowed scientists to realize that how one perceives something affects it. So in our observation, things happen. So this is the power of imagination, not of realizing that what we're observing, how we're observing things, actually observing the world actually affects it. But again, you are not your body. So who are you? We're learning that you are energy, you're vibrational, and you're observing it through your vehicle. So let's talk a little bit more about this you. And this is really where the empowering nature comes in through the study of energetic anatomy. And I want to think about how we're all born. So as a child, as an infant, our field looks like this. It's very clean, very empty. And we have several subtle bodies. We have our physical body here in the middle, and then we have this what's called the etheric body. And the etheric body is an exact replica of your physical body that, again, has been captured on camera with something called Kirlian photography that takes pictures of amputees' phantom limbs and actually has been able to see the etheric body of an amputated limb. And the purpose of the etheric body is to supply life force throughout the body. Now, life force is what the Indians have called prana, the Chinese have called qi, the Jewish Kabbalists have called divine light. It is what the smallest nature, what is fundamental to all life, all beings, all matter, all space. And the oxygen and the air we breathe, fundamentally, there's this energy, this life force, this light. And the etheric body's job is to transfer that light through our body, through our meridian system, to our organs to help to make sure that we're alive. Around that is this oval shape here, which is the emotional body. And the emotional body are where our emotions actually live. They actually have energetic form. So they're not just a thing that happens, they actually have form outside of us. So again, we are not our emotions. And this body thrives on spontaneity. We thrive on spontaneity. So when I say you're designed to live in the unknown, what I mean is you're designed to follow the call of your heart into potentially uncomfortable situations that will spark joy, spark excitement, spark sadness, spark fear, that will create this aliveness of life. That's really how we're designed to live and move through the world. The mental body around that is where our thoughts and beliefs live. And the mental body provides clarity, protection, and orientation. We need to have some beliefs to actually navigate the world. So when we look at this, we see, if we think about the edge of the mental body as a cell membrane, and our physical body is the nucleus, we can almost see that we are this cell, this energetic cell that's part of a larger global collective organism. And this interconnected web, again, of energy that we're all interrelating and connecting with each other. So as we get older, as we move into toddlerhood, we begin to, our field begins to get cluttered a little bit. We start to have thoughts, we start to have beliefs, and this might even be pre-verbal. The energetic form of these beliefs can form when, as we're learning what gets us yelled at, what gets us attention, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable in our homes. And if it's not safe to feel certain emotions, we might start suppressing them. So our field starts to get a little bit denser. And then as we move into teenage years and deal with cliques and popularity and trying to fit in and trying to figure it out, and any rules we might create or beliefs we might choose along that during that time, it gets even more clouded. By the time we're as adults and have like absorbed from society all the ways we should be and need to be, our field can start looking like this. And so the just to be aware that you are not any of this. These are just a bunch of triangles and clouds and in your field around here, out here. And you can choose to let them go just as quickly as you chose them. And a really good exercise coming out of this presentation is to ask yourself, which of my, like, what beliefs might be in my unconscious that are creating this reality around me? And how can I shift them? Why did I choose them? You chose them for a reason, to protect you, to get you through a period of life, maybe a challenging period of life at home or in school. And now you don't need them anymore. Beliefs are important, but we're only supposed to have a few at a time. And we get attached to them. We think they're us. So releasing some of these beliefs, freeing your field a little bit more to be open to more possibility. So you are a soul, a part of universal consciousness, driving a body, a vehicle made of energy. That's who you are. You are not the body. Your body is made of energy, and you're a soul that's driving it around and using it to observe this amazing journey here on Earth. And you are multidimensional. What does this mean? This is where it gets really juicy now. So if you're a soul, then what does that mean for you? And I promise this is all going to support your mission. It isn't just to think about cool stuff. So if we look at one three-dimensional moment in time, let's treat this little rectangle as one three-dimensional moment in time. When we start to stack three-dimensional moments next to each other, we get a fourth-dimensional space-time timeline. And this, you can think of this as the life you're currently living. And each moment is a decision point. And as you're making your decisions, your life starts to fill out in this timeline. But quantum physics, starting with Einstein, has started to explore and find more and more that time is in fact nonlinear, meaning the past, present, and future are all happening at once. So if we as we took three-dimensional moments next to each other to create this four-dimensional timeline, if we put fourth-dimensional timelines next to each other, we start to have this higher dimensional picture of what's happening. And this is saying that there's a bunch of other timelines that are also happening right now, past, present, and future, where you made different choices and you have different versions of yourself, different gifts, different experiences and wisdom that you can draw on. And this is a deep multidimensional wisdom that comes from a place beyond the mind. And your soul is doing all the learning in all these timelines. So you're experiencing one timeline based on all of your choices that you've made, but there's a whole bunch of other timelines happening at the same time. And your soul exists across dimensions and timelines. So it's all happening now. Now, your mind, if it's anything like mine, is like fighting and trying to like, does this make sense? Does it not make sense? And my invitation for this is to practice during this presentation, not taking my word for any of this. I never recommend that, but to feel, does this feel true in my body? Because the mind isn't going to get this because the mind can't get higher dimensional stuff. It's meant to operate within this four dimensions here. So your heart is what translates this higher dimensional wisdom into body sensations, emotions, and intuition. So step one on the path of the phoenix is, again, to remember and reconnect to the fire of your soul's truth. And this is a truth that needs no external validation, no data, no statistics. It's beyond logic and reason. It's beyond pros and cons. This is what you know. And this is the gift of this time, is we all have an opportunity to tap back into this in the unknown, in the space that's been created, in this magical void of possibility. And what makes this challenging is that we've all been conditioned as a collective to suppress it for centuries, conditioned to believe we need an external government or authority or certificate or degree to make it in life. And we've chosen to forget how powerful we really are. And this is an opportunity to remember. Now, I'm not against degrees, I'm not against certificates, I'm not even against having the support of an external person or group. What I'm cautious of and invite you to explore within is, are there any ways you're giving your power of decision-making over to a societal construct versus letting your heart guide the way? And then if on the path of your heart you need a degree or you need a certificate or you need something that in support of your heart's call, to allow that, but not to let the shoulds, I need a degree or I need a certificate or I should listen to this person, be the driving force, letting your heart be the driving force. Access this requires slowing down to hear between your thoughts, to remember how to trust yourself. Which leads me to step two in the path of the phoenix, letting the fire of your truth burn down everything that isn't in alignment with that truth. And when you've been conditioned since birth to discount your knowing, to back everything by logic, to be a good little citizen, it can be scary to begin to follow your heart. But remember, where there's fear, there's hope, depending on the story you tell. So I want to share a little bit about my story and how I've implemented this in my life and how this really was experiential for me before theoretical. And my journey with the Phoenix started pretty normally. I went through primary school, high school, university, work. My guidance counselor told me to go into tech because that's where I'd make a lot of money. I was a super awkward kid, a virgin till I was 22, and believed that money was the only path for me to actually have a partner. That if I had a house and I had a good salary, a wife would be attracted to me. So I did it, and that's me with a chicken hat on. I'm going to leave that a mystery right now to save time, but enjoy, maybe giggle a little bit. So I realized it was not about the money. And about 3 years into my corporate job back in 2009, and I realized I just wanted to feel passionate again. And I was scared to take a big leap because I really wanted to volunteer full time in Africa and while earning an online income. I didn't know how to get that. So instead, I started following this bridge, this path of the unknown, what I now call path of the phoenix. And I did many different things. And right here in the middle, fundraising coordinator is where I arrived in Kenya and started volunteering full time. But my first step there was to be a dog trainer. Very nonlinear, very, I never could have like thought, let me be a dog trainer, which will get me there. But the universe supported me by following my heart and where it was calling for me. In this moment, I met all the people I needed to inspire me and give me the tools I needed to do this. And all along, I was part-time coaching, which is what I'm doing now full-time. So this leads me to step 3, stand in the fire confidently as things burn around you. So I want to give a little picture of my journey with money as a reflection of this. So back in 2006, my first corporate gig, I was making about $1,300 a week, working 60 hours a week, and then I quit. So in this case, I created my own ashes. I burned it down because I couldn't take it anymore. And my income significantly dropped, but over a period of time, I raised it back up to a little bit higher than what I was making at 47 hours a week. Then my heart called me to Spain. Oh, at this time, so I was paid for work I love, but it wasn't my deepest passion and purpose. Then my heart called me abroad to teach English and to experience living in another country. And so I burned it all down again to follow my heart. And it took a little longer this time to build it back up, but I did slowly through my teaching business, and then got offered a consultant gig, making as much as I was making for 20 hours a week. And so I was able to work online part-time and volunteer full-time, and I moved to Kenya. There, I eventually quit the consultant gig again and started 2 online businesses. Now, I was letting these things emerge from the void, but I wasn't yet fully connected to my heart, wasn't fully aligned. So I had time and location freedom. I was living my deepest purpose, but I wasn't being paid yet for my natural gifts and purpose, which was the nonprofit work and the supporting of others. I still needed these other businesses to do it, so there wasn't full alignment yet. So it all crashed again, and I had to use all my savings. And that was painful in the moment, but I trusted again. And I was in this crucible of the ashes of things just burning down. And I got another consultant job to tide me over until I started my next business and became the CEO of this other event company, working my way up through the ranks. Then that all fell down again and burned up again. So because I wasn't aligned. So you're starting to see a pattern. Each time I was getting a little bit more aligned with my businesses. This was an education business for empowering youth. And finally, I became the COO of another small company, which also wasn't aligned. And I was let go. And so there's this ceiling that marked where my beliefs were holding me back. And this period of time was a recovery period of not listening to my deeper truth, of exhausting myself with all these plan Bs and diverting my time between my true purpose and plan Bs until I finally said, no more plan B, and really started to learn like what was happening. And this is where things really boomed between the beginning of 2019 into this year, was when I really, really fully aligned to my heart and learned all I had been learning, used all I'd been learning about burning it all down and rising from and staying in this discomfort, not moving backwards, allowing the next thing to emerge, the more aligned thing to emerge step by step, and to really trusting, to being in the fire just a little bit longer where I might want to run or go to a plan B, to not choose that. And it was scary, but it was so worth it. And so these along the path, there was these deep and spiritual healing places where I like hired coaches and worked with healers to experience and learn and grow more and understand more of my empowered nature. And it helped me learn how to be in the fire even more, how to trust even more deeply. Which leads me to number 4. Allow your more aligned life to rise from the ashes. So at this stage, there's absolutely nothing to do. You only have to practice trusting and staying in the ashes longer and longer, allowing something new to rise. So the nervous system, where you're being patient enough to allow your nervous system to increase what it can hold, to increase the capacity. And the question is, can you trust yourself long enough to be taken to the brink of nothing, to truly break the habits of solving with the mind? And when we are used to solving with the mind, to develop the spaciousness, to develop the trust, to really stand in your truth, not a truth that needs no external validation, to let it burn the things around you down, and then to not run away from that space, that unknown of what's going to happen, how am I going to pay my bills, or whatever the question is. Can you stand in it long enough to allow the universe, the world around you, to shift to match your new vibration? Because remember, you are a vibrational being. And as we learned earlier, and this is a vibrational universe. So when you're doing the healing, when you're releasing the beliefs, when you're burning down the beliefs that are no longer serving you, when you're choosing a new vibration, the world has to orient around that. It has to. And I've seen it time and time again in my life, as you saw in that diagram, and I see it in my clients' lives time and time again. Things burn down, relationships, jobs, but if they can stay long enough, something new and more aligned arises to match it. It has to. So if you can hold long enough to trust that, you can then see how multidimensionally supported you really are when you align to your heart. And you can allow a more easeful way to emerge, a way of spaciousness. And that's where the real hope for me is in the future, is spaciousness, where as a collective we're creating from spaciousness. We've taken the push the limits as far as we can. And I wish I had more time. I planned this whole other part to talk about the historical context of how that conditioning has been built into our society over centuries. But it's time to let that go, to remember that we are powerful beings that can create from spaciousness, that can create from ease. So this is about letting go, figuring out what to do, and remembering how to be. Your true purpose is here to be, to feel your truth beyond the mind and between your thoughts, a deep inner truth that knows what your part is. Like the eagle allows his wings to flap through, not because he's thinking that he has to flap his wings, but because that's who an eagle is. Like the lion allows himself to be the lion. It's like, who is an Orion? What does an Orion do? What does a Tim do? What does a Laura do? What does a John do? What does a Jim do? What does a Jennifer do? It's letting that move through you without trying to figure it out. And that takes slowing down. That takes this practice of being in the fire and trusting yourself. So choosing the uncomfortable and aligned over the comfortable and misaligned. And the universe has given us this gift of doing this for us. And it's a time of great hope. As more of us connect to our hearts, connect to our truths, face what we've been avoiding, remember how to find love for ourselves again, learn how to trust ourselves again, the external world as a whole will have to shift to match that, the new collective reality. So just a few pictures of me. I'm just a normal kid from New Jersey. This is a very natural path. It may sound a little bit, this is the first time you're hearing some of this stuff, the mind is going to fight it. But just remember, this is a natural path for humans, and you need only remember. And it gets results. That's why I practice this. That's why I study this. That's why I live this, because it helps me bring my impact into the world, my purpose, my mission with much more ease and joy and happiness and connection. So thank you very much. I hope this supported you in some way. I'd love to connect deeper. You can visit my website and schedule a free belief restructuring deep dive. It's a 60-minute chat. I'd love to just get to know you and support your journey and see what's alive. And also ambrosialanimals.com is a 6-month program you can look at, peek at, see if it intrigues you. We teach it starting on October 22nd, and we're teaching all of this stuff if it's interesting to you. But I'd love to really do this belief restructuring deep dive with you. So thank you very much. All right.
That was amazing, Orion. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for for having us on here and sharing this with us. That was incredible. I love the way you broke down, scientifically how all this works. So really incredible, guys. We're going to take just a short 2-minute break, and we'll be back with Chris Hay. So thank you so much, Orion.
Thank you. See you, everybody.